Imagine waking up to the horrifying sounds of your mother's screams and guns, only to become the sole survivor of a brutal crime that left your entire family dead. In this video, we'll delve into the chilling story of 10-year-old Robin Doan, who miraculously survived a horrific family farm massacre in Texas, and the man responsible for the killings, Levi King. Stay with us to uncover how Robin's bravery in the face of terror helped bring the killer to justice. The night of September 30th, 2005, would change young Robin Doan's life forever, as she was faced with the unthinkable and managed to survive. Levi King, a 23-year-old with a history of mental illness, including bipolar disorder, paranoid schizophrenia, and psychosis, embarked on a 2-day killing spree that began in Missouri and ended in Texas. The chilling series of events that unfolded would leave a trail of devastation and heartbreak in their wake. King had already brutally murdered Orly McCool, 70, and his daughter-in-law Dawn McCool, 47, in Pineville, Missouri. The pair were mercilessly shot in their own home, becoming the first victims of King's violent rampage. With no apparent motive for the killings, King's actions shocked and terrified the small community of Pineville. After these horrific acts, King stole Orly McCool's pickup truck and drove to the Conrad's home in Texas, where he would continue his ruthless rampage. The Conrads, a loving family, had no idea that their lives would be forever changed by the arrival of this cold-blooded killer. Once in Texas, King made his way to the Conrad family's farmhouse under the cover of darkness. It was here that he would commit the horrifying acts that left Robin Doan as the sole survivor of her family. The senseless violence and brutality that King displayed during this spree would leave an indelible mark on the communities in Missouri and Texas, and particularly on Robin, who would carry the scars of that night for the rest of her life. On that fateful night, Robin awoke to the horrifying sounds of her mother's screams and gunshots echoing through her family's Texas Panhandle farmhouse. A man wielding an AK-47 had broken in, and he didn't hesitate to use it. In a terrifying moment, Robin saw a bright flash as the intruder fired at her bed, but the bullet missed her by a hair's breadth. Pretending to be dead, Robin remained still until she was certain that the killer had left. The man, later identified as Levi King, had broken in, and with his AK-47, he went on a ruthless killing spree. King, dressed in black, entered the home through the back door and immediately went to the master bedroom, where he shot Brian Conrad 3 times and killed Molly, the family's dog. He then turned to Michelle Conrad, who had begun to scream, and fired 5 rounds into her body, silencing her screams forever. Miraculously, a bullet meant for Robin missed her as she lay in bed. The young girl quickly realized that she needed to pretend to be dead to survive. As she hid under the covers, she heard King walk down the hall to her brother Zach's bedroom. The sounds of gunshots and a groan followed, indicating that Zach had been fatally shot by the intruder. After her family members, King made his way to the kitchen, where Robin heard him rummaging around. She continued to pretend to be dead, staying as still as possible to avoid detection. The house fell eerily silent, and Robin remained in her bed, hiding under the covers, trying to determine whether the killer had finally left. The minutes felt like hours as Robin lay there, each passing moment increasing the tension and fear that the intruder might return. Her heart raced, and she could feel her own pulse in her ears, but she knew she had to stay still if she wanted to survive. It was several hours before Robin mustered the courage to emerge from her hiding place. Still not entirely sure if the intruder had left, she cautiously grabbed a cordless phone and made her way outside. The cold fall morning air greeted her as she dialed 911 from her stepfather's pickup truck. Her voice shaking with fear, she told the dispatcher, "I think I'm the only one alive." The shocking ordeal didn't end there. When Robin believed it was safe, she grabbed the family's cordless phone and made a frantic 911 call, recounting the horrifying events that had just unfolded.
What's your name?
Robin Doan, my parents, Michelle Conrad and Brian Conrad. I'm scared after this and I don't know what
Robin
to do.
Doan?
Yes, ma'am.
Brian Conrad.
her mother, Michelle Conrad, stepfather Brian Conrad, and 14-year-old brother Zach Doan had all been brutally murdered, leaving her as the only survivor. Robin's chilling account of the tragedy, captured in a 911 call played in court, unveiled the terror she experienced and her desperate hope that her mother might still be alive. She sobbed, "I so hope my mom is not dead. I want my mommy. I want my mom." The man responsible for the carnage, Levi King, was soon apprehended. A 23-year-old with a history of violence, King had embarked on a 2-day killing spree in September 2005, spanning from Missouri to Texas. In a separate case, he pleaded guilty to the shooting deaths of Orly McCool and his daughter-in-law, Dawn McCool, in Pineville, Missouri. Authorities revealed that King had driven Orly McCool's pickup truck from Missouri to the Conrad's home in Texas. The 911 call made by Robin Doan played a crucial role in helping authorities respond swiftly and begin building a case against Levi King. As Robin recounted the terrifying events that had just unfolded, her detailed description of the killer and the circumstances surrounding the murders allowed law enforcement to piece together crucial evidence. As authorities pursued leads and gathered information, they learned that King had fled south toward Mexico after the grisly Texas murders. Driven by a combination of panic and desperation, King sought to evade capture by crossing the border into Mexico. However, his plan quickly unraveled as he later attempted to re-enter the United States. Later that same night, King was apprehended by U.S. Customs and Border Protection agents at the Mexican border in El Paso, Texas. He aroused suspicion when he tried to cross back into the U.S. without any identification or a valid reason for his travels. Upon further investigation, the agents discovered that King was carrying an AK-47, the same type of weapon used in both the Missouri and Texas killings. Ultimately, as there was an outstanding warrant for the stolen pickup truck that King was driving, along with him being a murder suspect in the Missouri killings, Levi King was nabbed. Thanks to the quick response by law enforcement and the vital information provided by Robin's 911 call, authorities were able to connect King to the two crime scenes. As they delved deeper into the case, a chilling pattern of violence and cruelty emerged, solidifying the case against King. During the trial, King's defense attorney attempted to argue that his client's mental illness contributed to his violent behavior. However, the jury remained unconvinced by this argument. The prosecution, led by Lynn Switzer, focused on the horror that the Doan family experienced in their final moments, painting a picture of a family who had no idea what was fixing to happen to them. The trial revealed the gruesome details of the massacre, highlighting the terror and bravery of young Robin. Switzer recounted how King mercilessly killed Brian and Michelle Conrad, as well as the family dog, before turning his attention to the children. Robin's ability to maintain her composure and play dead during the ordeal undoubtedly saved her life. King's defense attorney argued that his client had grown up in poverty, was emotionally neglected, and introduced to drugs by his parents. King himself had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, paranoid schizophrenia, and psychosis. Despite these claims, King was held accountable for his heinous crimes. He pleaded guilty to capital murder for the deaths of Michelle Conrad, Brian Conrad, and Zach Doan. In 2009, Levi King was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole for the murders of Robin's family in Texas. On April 18, 2008, King had already pleaded guilty to the cases of Orly and Dawn McCool in Missouri. To avoid the death penalty, he received 2 consecutive life sentences for the Missouri murders. After being sentenced for the Texas murders, King was extradited to Missouri to serve all his sentences concurrently. The brutal killings left an indelible mark on Robin's life. In a 2009 interview with the Associated Press, Robin's aunt, Chrissy Powell, stated that her niece lives every day with the haunting memories of her mother's screams. Birthdays and special occasions remain especially difficult for Robin as she struggles to celebrate without her loved ones by her side.